Now, special video today because we're going to be using this Dalapro Roll Nova for the first time. So I've just cracked the seals on it, lifted it off. This is what we're faced with. It's a filler. It's quite light, and you do, oops, you do, I don't want to spill it, but all you do is you get your roller and you push your roller into it and roll it on the ceiling, and then smoothing it out a bit like plaster later on. So hopefully I've prepped everything that needs to be prepped, because this stuff goes on quite thin. I tried a bit this morning on a scrap bit of plasterboard. So we're just going to have a go now and see. Actually, let me just see if I can do this one-handed, and we'll show you what it's like. Okay, so it's like you literally plaster the thing on. I'm trying to watch the screen and watch the thing at the same time. So that's what we're looking at now. Harry McCleary, and then she goes on a bit like the old what do you call it? This stuff, the ceiling textured stuff. It's a bit like that kind of thing, hanging down in icicles and stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with sitting and watching this like this. I'm going to put it on to the time lapse in the distance there and see if we can show you the coverage going on, and then I'll try and see what it looks like after we've smoothed it off a bit as well. Alright, coming back. There were a couple of things that I discovered after I'd finished filming these sequences. This is my first time with things, so I wasn't that experienced with it. First of all, you can have a coat too thin, which means that you have trouble smoothing it out, obviously. And I think most of what I show in the video here is actually too thin for what I ended up doing. The second thing is that you can, if you apply it too thick, it just means you're wasting product, and also it takes longer to dry. But I found that by rolling it, and I'm using a normal kind of woolly roller here, but Dalapro sell their own roller, which is meant to hold more product, last longer between having to dip it each time. Anyway, I found that whenever you use the roller as a roller, in other words, whenever the roller is just rolling backwards and forwards with little pressure on it, it puts it on too thin. It seems to put it on too thin. If you push harder into the ceiling or onto the wall or whatever you're doing, the roller tends to slow down a bit, and it kind of makes a thicker coating. It's completely different. You saw the icicles hanging down in that first little section I was showing you. It takes on a more striated look, and it goes on thicker, much easier to spread. Okay, here's the very first kind of bit. You're meant to put it on in kind of two coats, and you'll see that. I mean, I'm not worried about all this kind of thing, because this stuff takes 8 hours to dry. You can rework and rework and rework it, kind of thing. So I'm just going to carry on like that. So the other thing I wanted to say about this Roll Nova is it's actually a very good product. I should point out at this point that I'm only a DIYer. I'm not a plasterer. I'm not a painter decorator. I've never ever plastered a ceiling before. In fact, I've never plastered anything before. But knowing how difficult plastering can be for the inexperienced, I saw this online and thought, I've got to have a go with this one here. Now, it took us a long time to find it, as mentioned. And was it worth it? Yes, definitely it was. I did this. It's only a very small kitchen, kind of 3.6 meters by just under 2 meters. 12 foot by kind of 6 foot-ish. And so I did all of the entire ceiling in around about 2 hours. Now, I haven't quite finished. Well, actually, it's a matter of debate at the moment. The house owner, it's a 200-year-old cottage. The ceiling doesn't need to be perfect. It definitely isn't perfect. It's only one layer on at the moment. I was going to kind of sand it tomorrow after having a look to see what needed to be done. and then have another go to put another layer on. But after cursory look at it today while it was still wet, the owner was quite happy and going, well, do you know what, it suits kind of where it's at here at the moment, and we probably don't need to go any further with it. So we'll see. Regardless, the very last clip here you'll see will be the way we've decided to finish it and leave it, kind of thing. I've buttered it up a bit more here, but it's thin in places. I could see the writing through it a minute ago where I had written measurements on the plasterboard. It's gone now, but it needs a thicker run there to which is hard to apply by the roller. It's a bit hard to apply by the roller without trying to get it kind of everywhere. So I might try and trowel that on and then brush it in, kind of thing. But overall, very, very pleased. Great product. Okay, well, the first impressions are that well, you can see the thicker bit here is kind of, let me see if I can get my camera to, you can see it's slightly darker. It's probably still a bit wet because it's thicker bonding. I'm trying to cover the light. Hard to see. I can see it with my eyes. I can see it down here. Yeah, you can see it. It's kind of darker grey in the middle. So that's that bit that was the taped part between. I mean, in terms of finish and whatever else, a couple of wee scores. You know, this can be filled if we need to. So that's the synopsis on that front. Is pretty good. I'm delighted with that. And yeah, a couple of bits to do, but in general, yeah, it's it'll look lovely whenever it's all painted up or whatever. Lovely, right. And just to go over the main tools that I've been using, as you can see, that this is just, I've used that wee kind of Japanese blade thing to get into the very edges of the ceiling. Obviously got my Roll Nova, but this is the main tool that's kind of saved my life. This is just for smoothing out wallpaper, and like that was, I don't know, €7-8, something like that, €8-9, and that is while you can buy all the plasterers ones blades, I think they're a lot more money, and so I don't know, this one was fine. The other thing is that because it's nothing's exactly straight, you can kind of get this, I can't do it with one hand, but you can get it with the two hands. You can kind of force the middle of the blade up a bit more if you need, or force the wings up a wee bit. You know, there's a bit of flexibility in it, which is perfect for my needs. Anyway, so those are the main tools, that and the roller, and the roller is nothing special. The roller is just your normal everyday paint roller type thing. This is the kind of the woollier ones. I know they can get the kind of foam based ones. I wanted something that would hold a bit of the product, kind of thing. So yeah, those are the main things. You can plaster the whole ceiling with those. This is the situation now. We're doing the walls, not doing all the walls. As you can see, there were bits and pieces where, let's find one, right, so where the paint has been that is scraped off, and it's just shown the cement in behind it, the cement rendering. So those bits, we're just giving a skim of this and trying to even it up around the top of the ceiling. I mentioned earlier in the video that the disadvantage of this stuff is that it takes 8 hours to go off, and you kind of really realize that it'd be fantastic for all these like lovely straight finished walls, ceilings, walls, whatever. But in this old farmhousey cottage thing, where the walls are like this, like literally have just kind of evolved like this, the whole cottage core look, you don't want to take that away. You don't want to make it clinical. Excuse me. So the disadvantage here is because this takes 8 hours to go off. I did this wall a couple of hours ago, but it's still as wet as whenever I first applied it. So that means I can't go over and give it a finish of whatever I'd like. Excuse me, because it's too wet. It's too it's not even sticky. It's not it's still buttery. So it's very difficult to give it. Now this one here, you can just about see the speckly look. I tried going over that with the just with the foam float, just a little bit, but that was given very variable results, just depending on the thickness of the thing as well. So yeah, I would love to have got it kind of a little rougher looking without it being kind of having trowel marks and whatever else. Like here's, you know, there's a trowel, well, sorry, that's not a good example. There's some trowel marks and stuff there. I can take those out. That's still absolutely soaking wet, right? That's me just touching it, right? So it's absolutely soaking wet. And it'll be like that for hours. So you're kind of having to be on the job, waiting for it to go off. So that is a disadvantage. I'd say if they made it go off in 2 hours or something like that, there's everything you could do in 2 hours that you would need to do to it, giving the DIYer enough time to you know, rework it until they've got what they want, and then be able to create a finish at the end of it. So that's a bit of a long, I'm only learning this. I you know, as I said earlier in the video, I'm not an expert in this whatsoever. This is my first time doing any of it, but those are my comments, and this is a bit of a review of the product. It's a fantastic product. Probably doesn't suit just about everything, and who knows, I might just leave the finish like this, and then whenever we put the paint on, put a kind of spackle kind of finish to the paint. It's just to try and get the whole kitchen is being redone in a few months, like to take away this part, and there's a whole new kitchen going here, so the tiles and stuff will come off, so I'm not too worried about it. I just wanted to get it kind of clean enough that it can be used for the next few months hygienically, as it were. Anyway, that's where we are. Yeah, there was another thing I wanted to say, that even though I did the kitchen, the ceiling yesterday, you know, which I'm happy enough with, a couple of wee bits to look at. When I go to do the kind of the edges along here, and if I'm coming in with one of my kind of Japanese blades or whatever else, the ceiling hasn't cured yet, so it's very grabby. So if you accidentally touch the ceiling, you get caught in it and pull the bits off the edge of the ceiling. So again, the lack of, like if that was plaster, that would have gone off and been fairly hard by now, and you would have just literally pushed your trowel or whatever along, and it would have skimmed the top of it and gone to the corner, and then you'd been able to drag down. Anyway, another comment, another review, another point. There we go. Let's take a look and see where we're at. I complained earlier on that I couldn't get the stuff to butter up, but this is another couple of hours later, and so I've been over it with the just with the, as you can see by the kind of lines in it, just with the sponge float, and you know, so kind of smoothed it off to kind of where I'm happy with it. The thing about it is it can be knocked back with a bit of sandpaper, so I'm kind of happy with it. You'll never get it to match, but it's smoothed off for the most part, and a wee bit of the ceilings are done, all that kind of stuff. And that was the hardest wall, the biggest area on the wall of all the render that was exposed, and that caused a bit of a problem because every time I would wipe the stuff off, another wee bit of render would fall out of the pockets, kind of thing. And but anyway, I'm happy enough that that went on. So yeah, that's kind of all around, and great product. I take it back, but you know, yes, okay, you know, if you're in a hurry to get out of a room and it hasn't gone off, then you're in bother, but it does allow you to go back. And all I did was similar, you know, thing. I just kept wetting it and running the sponge over it, so it's there to trowel away at a much later stage than any other plaster type thing that I can think of. Highly recommended. Like I said, this wee kitchen will be back up and running in no time with a lick of paint. I think that's the end of it. My review and use of the Dalapro Roll Nova. Good product. Definitely would use again, 100%. And I think once you get experience with it, that's the key. You'll be able to get really good results out of it. For me, this is a good result. This is the best that I could expect of the likes of myself, but I'm very pleased with it. There we go.